area, our unemployment's very high.
Very depressed area, very high unemployment. Was at one time a very bustling a thriving economic port.
Yeah, must have been 50 years ago or so.
Or more.
Yeah.
But when people think of Ashtabula, they just think of, economic devastation.
Mm-hmm.
And you took over this little plating business, Lake City Plating, that your mom had been running for some years.
Yeah, she'd been running it for 10 years.
You were 19 years old. Can you kind of tell us that story, how you wound up in the business?
Sure. I was in my second year at Kent State, and my mom called me and said, the business is having problems. I want to know if I would come back and help. And I said, okay. I was kind of bored at school. I wasn't a great student. I wasn't a terrible student, but I probably skipped more classes than I went to. So
you are the fifth guest we've had on this show that said about the same thing.
Yeah. So I said, sure, I'll try this.
We've only had 5 guests.
So I went home and
you were 19 at the time?
19 years old, stepped into a business with about 20 plus employees, most in their 50s and 60s, some younger guys, and I'll tell you, not one of them wanted to listen to a 19-year-old.
Right.
Not that I knew anything at that time anyway, but the company was losing money, and
your mom said you got a window of time here, like you're going to turn this thing around or I'm going to lock the door, didn't she?
After about 6 months of me being there, she said, if we have another month like that one, that's our last month.
Okay.
And after 6 months of being there, I was starting to have relationships a little bit with the employees, with the customers, and I really didn't want to see all those people lose their jobs.
Right.
So I said, well, I better figure something out.
But you're 19 years old. You got an old school business. You didn't know anything about plating, did you?
No. I mean, very little. I worked there a little bit in high school, running the plating lines, but I certainly knew nothing on the business end of things.
Right.
And everyone always asks me, they say, Ryan, how'd you grow the business? And you don't start out growing a business that's failing. You start out stopping it from failing.
Right. Right. You stop the hemorrhaging. That's a great point.
I think that's a quote that's going to be on a blog soon.
But let me make sure I understand this, Ryan. So you came in there, you're working with your mom, the business is losing money. Mm-hmm. She asked you to come home from college and kind of help her out.
Yes.
Right? So you're in there for a few months and you're starting to roll up your sleeves and kind of figure things out. Mm-hmm. Did you take like a leadership role right out of the gate?
No, I not really. I kind of looked at each customer and each job, and I didn't have a sophisticated way to measure how we were making money or losing money. I would just look at how much we were paying an employee and how much time they spent on it. I disregarded chemical usage, water usage, all your utilities. Labor was probably 70% of what we were putting into a job. So I said, you know what, I'm going to focus on the big number.
Right.
And there was a handful of jobs, maybe 5 decent-sized jobs, that when I added up the labor hours and what the employee was making, it was greater than what we were getting for those jobs.
Right.
Oh my, okay. It usually doesn't work well.
Yeah.
So you're just basically, you came into this and you're basically applying some common sense. You're just looking at the landscape. You essentially know nothing about the business.
Yeah, nothing. Just simple logic. If we're spending $10 to make $5, we should stop doing that.
Right. That's the first lesson in business. Right?
Well, what did you do? Raise your prices?
Well, there's 5 bad apples in there. There was 30 good ones. And of those 30 good ones, maybe 5 were really good. So I took the 5 that were bad and raised the prices 3 times on them. And what I found is...
By a factor of 3, you mean?
Yeah, it just tripled the prices.
Right, just way up.
And said, that's where I'd want to be if I wanted to be profitable on those jobs. And found out, about 2/3 of them left. Well, now I'm stuck with 1/3 of the work. I'm still making just as much money as I was making before, and I'm doing, 2/3 less work.
Right.
So now we've got a profitable situation on those customers, and it was at that time we stopped losing money.
So in other words, you're sort of practicing like triage medicine. You stop the bleeding and stabilize the patient is what you first really did, right?
And tell me, you learned that in college?
No.
No.
No, I mean, that's simple. You know, that's simple stuff.
But hold on a
Well,
second,
that's
Ryan.
not that simple. I got to give Ryan some credit here, because when you're in the middle of the swamp and you got alligators, you know, it's not easy to figure out what to do.
Well, that's the point I wanted to make. It seems simple to you, and to our listeners, it may not seem simple. But I think what makes it simple is that you didn't have expertise in the business. You kind of came at it with just, you know, fresh eyes, looked at it without having an opinion one way or the other. You didn't have relationships with these customers or anything to sway your viewpoint.
No bias whatsoever.
Right, there was no bias.
The other thing that uncovered, once we figured out what third stayed with us, we figured out what we were better at than anyone else.
Right.
Because if they couldn't take it anywhere else, that's because we were the best.
Right.
So then I went out and looked for more work just like that, the stuff that stayed.
Okay,
so you know what, we're good at this. Let's find more of this.
Right.
So you put your sales hat on and you went out and made sales calls?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. And that was
at 19.
That was a little rough at first.
Yeah.
I remember walking in Lincoln Electric, and I was in jeans with holes in them. You could actually see my boxers through my jeans, and all these guys are in suits. But I threw myself into it, and you learn from that, and you move forward.
Oh
Yeah.
my golly! Okay, I'm just picturing the boxers and
Right.
hanging
Right.
out of your jeans
Yeah.
at Lincoln Electric with a bunch of guys that have
All dressed in suits.
suits. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could picture that. Holy crap! I think we're supposed to take a break. Is that the case, Mr. Parrish? We gotta
Yes.
go. We're gonna hold that boxer thought, and we'll be right back. This is Entrepreneurs Insight on AM 1330 WELW. We'll be right back. I didn't hear any music.
I didn't either. That's why it's confusing when he holds the thing up, and
Is it going okay?
it's great.
It's great.
Okay.
That's the whole thing. Just impromptu. We just talk about it.
That's part of it. It's just like it's not scripted. It's kind of like Howard Stern for entrepreneurs.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah,
We
that's how I
got
put it.
2.5 minutes, guys.
Yeah.
I didn't hear any music. That's why I didn't. What? I didn't hear any music there, so that's why I didn't know. Music coming back to you. Oh, it's coming back. So when you think, okay, sorry.
We can't get music coming
When he
out.
says take a break, we take a break.
Okay.